Imagine being a 2-year-old little girl, watching your younger cousin take his very first steps. Everyone claps, the room fills with joy, and you are looking down at your legs, beating on them softly, whispering, "Why can't I walk?" Your mother kneels beside her and says, "Your legs work differently." The little girl didn't yet know what different meant, but her mother did. She immediately placed her in psychological services, but the little girl learned that different doesn't mean less. It means you move through the world at your own pace. And the little girl was determined to show everyone what she was capable of, even while living with cerebral palsy spastic quadriplegia. Fast forward to her very first day in kindergarten. She rolled down the auditorium with excitement on her face when a teacher yells, "Special education is downstairs!" Her mother sarcastically replies, "She's not in special education. She's in general education." And as they rolled down past the rows of parents, the little girl heard whispers from the parents stating, "I don't want her in my child's classroom. She's in a wheelchair. She might be a drooler." The little girl turned to her mother crying and whispered quietly, "They don't want me here." Her mother reassured her and said, "Don't worry. Once they see that you know all your letters and numbers, they'll want their children to be your friend." And boy, was she right. By the end of the school year, the little girl became the teacher's helper, helping her classmates with their schoolwork and showing everybody that ability wasn't defined by movement, but by mindset. But even though she showed people what she was capable of, in middle school, people still based her ability on what she rolled in and viewed her as a burden. She needed extra support, a paraprofessional, large print, a scribe, extended time, and even equipment such as a walker, stander, and a desk. All tools that would help her to succeed. But instead of being viewed as accommodations, they were seen as inconveniences. Paraprofessionals would say, "If you need this much equipment, then you should be in special education." Teachers would sigh and say, "Your equipment takes up too much space in my room." And paraprofessionals would even go as far as to write their own name on her work because they were the ones holding the pen. And for school trips, the little girl couldn't attend because they claimed they didn't have accessible transportation for her to get there. As a result, her self-esteem became low. She sat in her room all alone, pretending to be sick just to avoid going to school. Because sometimes it was easier to stay home than to feel like she didn't belong. Until, once again, her mother stepped in, immediately called the New York State Department of Education, and demanded a meeting. She fought for her daughter to be transferred to the heavy risk charter school. Well, once again, her spark was reignited. She thrived again and had a sense of belonging, filled with school trips, and just absolutely enjoyed it. Ultimately, graduating salutatorian of her high school class. She went on to Lincoln College and graduated with her master's from Columbia University. And that little girl was me. Today, I am a licensed speech-language pathologist in the state of Maine in New York, an adjunct professor at Lincoln College, a certified lead advocate for the NPT Coalition, the host, content creator, editor of Queens on the Roll, a podcast amplifying stories from the Asian different community. My story is just one of many, but it shows that sometimes the greatest barriers aren't just physical, they're attitudinal. One day, my mother drove me to a job interview. We were sitting in the waiting room side by side. The interviewer came up, called my name, and glanced at my mother. She expected my mother to come forward, but when I go forward instead, the look on her face was surprise. Why? Because society doesn't always view people like me as leaders, contributors, or professionals. Those attitudes tell us, before we even open our mouths, that we don't belong. And those misconceptions don't just stop at the door. They shape funding, policies, and opportunities. They drive the systems that tells us who gets access and who gets left behind. How do I know? Because the place where I go to obtain my braces since I was 18 months old, JK Prosthetics and Orthotics, is now on the verge of closing their doors. But this isn't just about me. Braces is a part of a much larger industry, the durable medical equipment industry, which includes braces, wheelchairs, prosthetics, nebulizers, hospital beds, and breast pumps. These aren't luxuries, they're lifelines. Imagine you go to the doctor after a terrible car accident and they tell you you're paralyzed and you must ambulate by wheelchair for the rest of your life. But the very equipment that you need takes weeks, months, sometimes a year just to receive or repair. Because for many people across this country, that's not a question, it's their reality. Here's the problem. At least in New York, Medicaid reimbursement rates for these items haven't been updated since 1987. That's nearly 40 years of outdated funding. And it gets worse. Third-party administrators have inserted themselves into the process. They don't deliver care, they don't build equipment, yet they take 30 to 40% of an already outdated 1987 fee before the provider ever sees it. So not only are providers operating on broken rates, they're being squeezed by middlemen. The result? Independent providers, the ones who customize care, who know their patients by name, are closing their doors. And we've already lost our independent wheelchair providers. What's left? 2 massive national vendors. That means longer wait times for repairs, longer wait times for equipment, and for patients, no ability to choose providers. No ability to choose providers of the very equipment their independence depends on. Choice is gone, and control is gone with it. And for the brace and prosthetic industry, the attrition rate has climbed to 20% over the last 10 years. 1 in 5 providers gone. But this isn't just about equipment, it's about dignity. It's about the ability to go to work, to go to school, to show up in your life. Every time a wheelchair repair, brace repair, or prosthetic repair breaks down or takes weeks, a student misses classes, a worker loses wages, a parent can't show up to their child's school play. And then we wonder why inclusion lags behind. It's time to start thinking about both attitudinal and systemic inclusion. That means before we design a new policy, launch a new program, or roll out a new procedure, you consult someone who is ably different. Not as a checkbox, not as an afterthought, but at the table from the very beginning. Because the best experts in disability inclusion are the people living it. Inclusion is not charity. It's not a slogan. It's not a photo op. Inclusion is justice. And doing better means this: not squeezing us into a system that was never built with us in mind, but making sure that we are integral to it. The truth is, inclusion without access is exclusion. Inclusion without equity is illusion. And inclusion without our voices at the center is not inclusion at all. And if you need any more proof, just look at me. If you're wondering why I'm wearing this chronic sash, no, it's not my birthday. I recently won Miss Wheelchair America 2026. But I bet some of you never even knew a pageant like Miss Wheelchair America existed. And that's exactly my point. Even when we win, even when we lead, even when we achieve, ably different individuals are still denied the same opportunities, the same recognition, the same visibility as able-bodied individuals. So when I hear the word inclusion, I truly believe it's just an illusion. And for me, that creates a lot of confusion because the ably different community is the only minority group that any one of you can belong to at any given time. So shouldn't we be doing better to create a truly inclusive future? Thank you.